Good day, and welcome to Of Minds and Men. Despite its irreplaceability in our modern day, economics in its current rationalized scientific form was not the original state of the discipline. In fact, until the late 18th century, the subject of economics was primarily one of administration and ethics. Yet, do these subjects make studying ancient economics a fruitless, or at least unworthy, endeavor? Well, that is precisely what we will be looking into in this video, as I quickly go through a few of the most important elements of economics predating the publication of The Wealth of Nations. Economic organization in the earliest civilizations of the Fertile Crescent were driven by the need to efficiently grow crops in river basins. The Euphrates and Nile valleys, in particular, were homes to the earliest examples of codified measurements, written in base 60 measurement or Egyptian fractions. Egyptian keepers of royal granaries and Egyptian absentee landowners are reported in the Hekanacht papyri, a famous text from the time. Historians of this period note that the major tool of accounting for agrarian societies, that is, the scales used to measure inventory, reflected dual religious and symbolic meanings, being used often in heraldry, for instance. The city-states of Sumer developed a trade and market economy based originally on the commodity of the shekel, which at the time was a certain weight measure of barley, while the Babylonians and their neighbors later developed the earliest system of economics using a metric of various commodities fixed in legal code. The earliest legal codes from Sumer could be considered the first written economic formula and had many attributes still in use in the current system today: codified amounts of money for deals, fines for violations of legislation, inheritance law, and laws concerning the distribution of private property. Several ancient Greek and Roman thinkers made various economic observations as well, especially Aristotle and Xenophon. Many other Greek writings show a sophisticated understanding of economic concepts. The renowned poet Hesiod, in particular, is considered by some to be the first true economist, in fact, considering his having written on the fundamental subject of the scarcity of resources in his famous work, Works and Days. A bit of a generalization, of course, but economics has always been a loosely defined subject. In ancient China, Chinese scholar officials would often debate about the role government should have in the economy, such as setting monopolies in lucrative industries and instituting price controls. Confucian elements, often the most dominant in this debate, tended to oppose extensive government reforms, while reformist factions favored intervention. The Confucian justification for opposing government intervention was that the government should not compete for profit with the people, as it would tend to exploit the population whenever involved directly in mercantile activity. A particularly important figure in this regard is the advisor Fan Li, who recorded the text entitled Discourses on Salt and Iron, a debate over the use of salt and iron monopolies imposed by the then Han Emperor to fund wars and expansionism against the nomadic Xiongnu, always considered a great threat to China. Although Confucian laissez-faire was largely dominant throughout Chinese history, legalist policies often gained prominence in times of war or with the patronage of certain rulers, most famously Qin Shi Huang. Although these examples, be they from the ancient Near East or from China, broaden the idea of value from an individual context to a more general social concept of value, produced through exchange, it should be noted that this is not a market theory of value as formulated in modern economics and considered a central element of it. Indeed, the accuracy of the term economics in regards to these ancient theories has always been questioned and will continue to be in the future. But then, the art of war is often criticized because of how simplistic its theories often are. To that I would simply say, does a work's perceived quality matter, or do the timelessness of its ideas? There is a reason these treatises were written, and in directly addressing the eternal questions of supply and demand, they bear messages which might be worth remembering in our time. Thank you for listening to Of Minds and Men. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe.